All right, guys, welcome back. Today we've got a 2005 F250 6.0. Customers complaining that the water and fuel indicator keeps coming on. As you can see right there, that looks like the camera, the refresh rate on the camera is kind of flickering a little bit, but it's flashing water in fuel constantly on the dash, and it's throwing a P2269 water in fuel condition code. Now the water separator has been drained multiple times, filters have been changed, and it's still displaying this code and the message on the driver information center. So we're gonna go ahead and clean out the water separator manifold and replace the gasket on it. And to do that, that is on the HFCM, the horizontal fuel conditioning module, which is basically the lift pump on these things. It's where the lower fuel filter is, down on the fuel rail, or on the frame rail down here. So I'm gonna go ahead and turn this key off. And that's gonna be right up here on the frame rail. Sorry. It's gonna be this guy right up here. This manifold right here is most likely clogged up with gunk. So we're gonna go ahead and take this whole entire unit off so that we can get in there and get it nice and clean. So to do that, there's this one right here still has the fuel heater on it. So it's got two plugs here plus the pump plug. We're gonna remove those, and then the four fuel lines, there's two plastic tabs up here and then two metal ones up in the front that are going to require the disconnect tools to disconnect. And then there's three nuts on the outside. Pretty simple for the whole unit to come down. This one is four-wheel drive, so the front drive shaft does have to come loose to be able to get the unit out. But we're gonna go and get this out and get it on the bench and take a look at what it's gonna take to clean this thing out. I've already got a new gasket from Ford to replace the gasket on that manifold, and then we're gonna go ahead and get this cleaned up, put back on, and see that message go away. So stay tuned. I'll get the tools set up, and we're gonna go ahead and drop this drive shaft, get this unit down. All right, from here we're gonna go ahead and remove these four bolts for the drive shaft and let it hang so that we can have more room to get to the module up here. So these are pretty easy to get to. There's four of them on these clamps. You can rotate the drive shaft as long as it's in two-wheel drive mode, and then we're just gonna let this thing hang. Give me a pry bar. You may need a pry bar to hold this. Sometimes these things are on there pretty tight, especially if they haven't been off in a while or ever at all. And yeah, this truck does have a little bit of an oil leak, as you can see on that oil pan. Not of today's concern, not that the customer wants to fix that right now. These are 8mm bolts. You can usually just take one side off and then loosen the other side and get the drive shaft out of there. Be careful not to drop the U-joint end caps. If you do, you may end up losing some bearings or getting dirt and debris in there. You want those to stay nice and clean. Rotate it back, remove this Give it a little pry, then get it out just enough, and you can walk the U-joint right out of there. And then just let it hang like this, and now you have room to get up to the module. Okay, now that the drive shaft is out of the way, you can kind of see what's going on up here. So we need to remove both of these plugs, and there's a third plug back here for the pump motor itself. 1, 2, 3, and 4 fuel lines. Once those are out, there's 3 nuts on the other side, and the whole unit will come down. So there's also, you can unplug this main harness right here and take the whole thing with you, but there is a clip up here that's sometimes a pain to get to, so I like to just unplug them. There's one. Now you can see the one back behind there. I might get a pick. Let's see if we can get that one out. Sometimes these get dirt and sand and all kinds of other debris in there. And these clips just pop out. There we go. So those 3 clips are out of the way. Just kind of tuck them out of the way so that they're not in the way. And then for this right here, there's 2 different sizes. This bottom one's a little thicker than the top one, but you just use a fuel line disconnect tool and it will drop some fuel whenever you do this. And then the top one is a little bit smaller. The top one is the return line. Okay. Now these next 2 right here, they just have a little push tab where you can just push it and it will release. Sometimes they're not easy to get to. They're not wanting to be nice today. Okay, we've got all the lines off and the electrical disconnected. So now there are gonna have a lot of fuel pour out of that one. That's the fuel feed line. And the nuts that are gonna be right here, 1, 2, and 3 right there, are the ones we're gonna take loose for removing the pump assembly. They're all 13 mil. The park and brake cable kind of gets in the way a little bit with the bottom 2. Now that all 3 of those are out, the pump will just slide right out of here. And then we're going to do the rest up here on the bench. Okay. We have the pump up here in a bucket here, so it's going to drain some fuel. You know, have somewhere to catch the fuel whenever it comes out, because it's full of fluid. First thing we're going to do is we're just going to go ahead and remove this entire manifold assembly. There's 4 bolts on it. They are 1/4 inch They're not metric. Pretty simple. Just unscrew these 4 bolts, and then this is the water separator manifold, and my guess is it's going to be clogged full of gunk. So set the bolts aside. The new gasket kit does come with new bolts. This would be a good time to change your fuel filters and everything. This filter is brand new, so the customer literally just changed that, so we're not going to go ahead and change it at this time. They changed it in hopes that the message was going to go away, which it did not. Got those 4 bolts out. Just pry this thing open, and oh yeah, look at all of that. There's sludge, there's rust. Go ahead and get this gasket off. Look at that gunk right there, right here. Pick. We're going to go ahead and dump this unit out. Look at that. There was a whole pile that just came out. This entire pile right there just came out of this. So you want to try to keep all the gunk from going inside it. Use a pick, use your fingers, whatever you want to use. End up using some paper towels and some brake clean to get this cleaned out real good. I'm going to set that aside. Got some paper towels here. That would be why the water and fuel light is on. There's this sensor right here. This black one right here is the water and fuel sensor. So all this gunk built up on there probably has some sort of metallic base to it, therefore it's conducting. So we're just going to clean this out real good, get it. We'll use some brake clean. Even up here on the fuel heater, this one has that feature. It's never been replaced before. They got rid of that on some of the newer models, and if you ever had to replace this unit, they got rid of the fuel heater as it was causing more problems than it helped. And there's some gunk up inside here, inside the filter, or inside the sensor for the water separator. We're just going to clean this out real good. Just using some common brake clean. Get that nice and clean. Now you can remove this sensor, but if you do, the tabs may break on it and you may end up having to replace it. So I'm trying to do the best I can to get it clean without having to remove it. Trying to make sure that the inside of that sensor is clean, because that's what's throwing the code. Alright, we're going to set this aside, and then we're going to get the multimeter out. And we're going to put it on the setting to beep if there's a connection. Now this should not have continuity. That's what's triggering the light, is if it has anything conducting, and right now we do not. It's not beeping at all. So we've gotten the debris out of there. All of this right here was causing the conducting between the two pins, which was causing the code. Now we're going to clean this out a little bit. We've got a couple little spots that need to be scraped. Believe it or not, this is not the worst one I've seen, but all it takes is just enough gunk in there to build up and hit the sensor to cause it to trigger the light, trigger the code. This right here is typically caused by not regularly draining your water separator and changing your filters. Okay, so now we're a lot cleaner than we were. Spray this down one more time with some brake clean. And it's not going to be 100% shiny new, as it's got corrosion and stuff on the thing. So just get all the debris out of there, get it as clean as possible. Get it, anything that may be stuck in the crevices. We still got a little bit down here at the bottom. So what happens is the fuel will break that free, and it will end up right back into that sensor that you just cleaned. Alright, and here's the gasket kit we're using. It's a Motorcraft. It's a CG809, or the Ford part number there, 6C3Z9276 Alpha. It's got a pump gasket, which is the main gasket for right here. And then it's got some bolts and the rubber isolators for the back side of it. So there's this gasket which goes right here. Just kind of press fit that back down in there. You do want to replace this gasket anytime you open this thing up to prevent from any leaks going back and forth in between the chambers. So we've got 4 new bolts for this. We're going to go ahead and get this back on. That to stay in its home. Make sure all these get started first. They do not need to be very tight, just snug. Now there's some other items in this package. We're going to go ahead and replace them while we're at it. We've got some extra screws. And some grommets. Now those are going to be back here on this back side of it. There should be 4 of them. And then there's 4 bolts or 4 screws for this right here. Now we're not taking the pump out, so we're going to go ahead and replace these grommets because they are part of the kit. That's what the customer paid for. So these are going to be a 5/16. Again, not metric. Why some things on this truck is metric and some things are not, I don't know, but it's the way Ford designed it. And this just pops off of here, and we're going to replace these grommets, kind of clean this bracket up a little bit. And these just slide right out. And the reason it has these grommets on here is to protect the pump from any vibrations because it is bolted directly to the frame rail. This just helps isolate any vibrations, keep the pump from getting damaged from that. And clean all this off. And then the new ones just kind of slide back in there. They're home just like that. Just like that. Now, the two studs go towards the filter housing, because it does mount on the frame rail like that right there, and we had the two on the back side. These slide over the dowels just like that. And then we're going to run for the new screws in, and we're not going to worry about replacing the other screws because we're not going to take that part off because I don't have a gasket for it. It did not come with this kit. Alright, and just like that, we've got the manifold cleaned, resealed, new bolts, and now it's time to reinstall this back on the truck. So to speed things up, I'm going to have my helper help me with getting the nuts back on the outside of the frame rail while I'm hooking up everything up underneath the truck. So I'm going to transition camera back out there so you guys can see the reinstall, and then we're going to clear that code and get this truck started back up and see that it repaired the issue. Okay, as you can see, there's where the mount goes. So we're just going to lift this thing back up in there, and then he's going to work on getting the 313 mil nuts back on while I'm hooking everything up on this end of it. Make sure these fuel lines seat all the way and clip, and make sure that they don't pull back out. Okay, get the harness back up in here. Make sure that they clip all the way in. And this one right here is just really difficult. Okay, that one's in now. Okay, we're all clipped in. So as soon as we get this thing tight, I'm gonna get this drive shaft back up while he's tightening that, and we will prime the system. And then fire this thing up. Okay, everything's tidied up under here. We've got the drive shaft in, we've got the pump in, the electrical's hooked up. Next thing is to go outside, up by the cab, turn the key on. We're going to cycle it 6 times, make sure that the fuel is primed, pumped up, and we'll see if this thing starts. Okay, sorry for the darkness here. Okay, we've turned the key on. I do not see water and fuel light. We're going to go ahead and clear this code. Sorry. Clearing codes. Read codes. This truck previously had some glow plug codes, so they may come back. Glow plug, glow plug, glow plug, glow plug. The water and fuel code is not there. Okay, so now we got that. We're gonna cycle the key. Let it run one more time. We're gonna do this a total of 6 times so that it will prime that pump. This was the 2nd time. It just shut off. We're gonna do it one more time. This is time number 3. Most of the time, 6 times we'll do this and get it primed, get all the air out of the system. Sometimes you got to go and crack the cap up there for the on-engine fuel filter and let it purge some of the air. This is time number 4. And we're just running until the pump shuts off and you can hear the relay click. And then we're repeating the process 6 times. That was time number 4. Here's number 5. And time number 6. We're going to let this run all the way through, and then we will try to start it on the next time. And as you see, we do not have water and fuel. So the debris that was in that housing is what was triggering the sensor and making the contacts have continuity, which was triggering that water and fuel light constant even though the thing had been drained. The fuel filters have been changed. Just you can't get into that area where the manifold is by just changing the filter. So do yourself a favor, change your filters regularly. I usually recommend changing every 10,000, sometimes 15,000, depending on if it's a bunch of highway miles or if it's city driving. 10 to 15,000 miles, change your filters. Use quality filters from Ford. Don't buy the ones on Amazon. And every oil change, I usually recommend oil changes at 5,000. Drain your water separator. That will keep most of the debris out of there. What happens is that water collects in there, it turns to this like slime stuff, and it will accumulate rust. It will have contaminants in there, and that's what will cause this issue. So do your regular maintenance, change your filters, drain your water separator. That's what the drain's there for. XDP and several other brands out there have a quick drain, so that you can just use your fingers and not have to get the Allen wrench in there. Those I highly recommend to do. That way you can just do a quick drain and fill it back up and be on your way without any contaminants in your fuel system. So if you like this video, if you found it helpful, like and subscribe. Watch some of my other videos. I do a lot of stuff with 6.0s, 6.7s, Cummins, Duramax, you name it, we do it. So until next time, see you again.